Hi, everybody. Welcome to week number 9. And guess what? Another few weeks, and you are going to be officially a BAPSy. How exciting is that? Listen, it was great getting all of your resumes and cover letters done. I just to let you know, they were terrific. I've added some general observations for both resumes and cover letters to week 7's Moodle folder because there's always common things that come up. So I will be doing the same thing for LinkedIn when I finish doing those critiques. So far, I'm really happy with the LinkedIn profiles that I've seen. I'm pretty darn confident that they are going to help you get off to the right foot as you take your degrees and careers out into the world. So thank you, thank you, thank you to those of you who got them in early because it's allowed me to get, really get cracking on them and get them all done. So for the next couple of days. So, and right in time for you to connect with your mock interviewers, right? So let's talk about those mock interviews. Tomorrow, Monday, I will release the sign-up schedule for the mock interviewers. It's a Google Doc, and it'll have times across the top, names across the top and times down the side, and that there will be black and white blocks inside, one for each day of the week. If the block is white and there's no name on it, that means that that time is free. All you have to do is just put your name on it. Now, if it's blacked out, it means that the interviewer is not available during that time. And I know it sounds crazy for me to have to even say this, but I have had students who have opened the blackened box and put their name in it. So please don't do that, okay? So here comes the really big pay attention part, all right? A week before your interview, you need to send out an email to your interviewer to introduce yourself and confirm the appointment. Please let them know that you will be forwarding your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn URL, and that could be on paper as well. If you don't have the URL, you could just give them the paper copy, and also the job posting that you've chosen. And you need to do that at least 5 days before the interviewer, so that they've got enough time to, to go through the documents to prepare for your interview. Now, if you can send everything all at once, meaning when you make the introduction, all the better. So anyway, um, if for some reason you don't hear back from your interviewer within a day or so, please let me know and I will contact them. Perhaps another way just to let them know that they're waiting for you. Okay. It does happen sometimes that emails get lost. So, how's everybody feeling about them? Are you excited? Are you nervous? So you're bound to be because even though it's a mock interview, um, it still feels right, doesn't it? So here's the thing. I've been in touch with the interviewers. They're all great people, and they're so looking forward to meeting you. And a lot of them have done these mock interviews with my students before, so they get it. They know the script. All right. A couple of housekeeping tips, though, courtesies, I suppose, is when you meet them, please be respectful of their time. They all have busy lives. Do not cancel or reschedule, okay, unless it's an absolute emergency. And then afterwards, be sure to follow up with a thank you note. In fact, that actually should become a habit of yours that you do after any future interviews, all right? It does help you stand out above the crowd. Um, and when you do that, if you could just mention something that you chit-chatted about, something that was unique to you, it helps them better remember you. And especially important if they've been doing marathon interviews, right? Because sometimes faces and conversations just all blend together in a big long stream. So it's a great trick for helping them to remember you. So the purpose of a mock interview is to put you in a situation where you're talking to someone that you don't know. It's your chance to ask questions and think on your feet and apply your experience and your know-how. It is such good practice, and really, you never know when you're going to need it. I've had students who've said things like, "I'm really happy with my work, so I probably don't need this," only to find themselves a year or two later having to leave their jobs. I mean, for all kinds of reasons. Some because the job became redundant, or sometimes they just want to move on. Lots of reasons, but then that's when they tell me that they were really glad for the mock interview experience. All right. Actually, that's when they tell me that they're happy for the whole experience, this whole career prep thing. So now, as I mentioned, you are bound to be nervous. And I have some skills that I'll be talking to you about in the next week or so, about how to help you through that nervousness. But the short of it is just know your competencies inside and out, and how your skills, qualities, and education all fit. And then just practice, okay? Practice those stories over and over and over again. So I've also added a resource in this week's support folder, and it's called Getting the Most from Your Video Interview. And I strongly suggest that you go through it, especially the box that in the bottom right hand, because it has a lot of really great breathing and visualization tips. So again, more on that next week. Um, yeah, so let's just talk about this week's focus, which is interview strategy. So this week's required readings and resources include my competency story builder video, where I show you how to create stories that are directly connected to the job that you're interviewing for. And I walk you through building a competency checklist using the STAR formula to bring out the stories to life. I've also included a really terrific little video from The Guardian about the STAR formula in this week's required readings, and it goes into much better detail. Now, just a heads up too, the original Guardian link does not work anymore for some reason or the other, so I've kind of used a back the door Facebook link to get in there, and I have tested it, and it should still work fine for you. But again, please let me know if you have any trouble accessing it. Okay, can't go without talking about the pause technique, PAWS technique, because it offers one of the best ways to address that dreaded question, tell me about yourself. And that question comes up in almost all interviews, no matter what. So that technique is a structured framework designed to help candidates confidently respond to that common question. Okay. Summed up, the pause stands for personal, academic, work, and skills. All right. And then maybe I'll just break it down a bit. So personal is why you were drawn to the role, and that kind of establishes authenticity and relatability and value alignment. Okay. The academic, right? That's your education, which when you talk about that, it should be related to the job that you're applying for. Work experience, okay, like that includes paid, volunteer, or other relevant experiences. And remember, when I talk about relevant, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the same business or even, the same kind of work. If you've got transferable skills that speak to the type of role that you're going for, make sure that you can kind of talk about those as well. All right. Again, remember, I know you hate me. I hate these. You hate these smart outcome accomplishments, but if you can come from a position of impact, all right. I didn't just do this. This is what happened because I did it. All right. And so if you kind of can keep wrapping your head around that concept, all right, it does get easier as you go. And then S in the pause is skills. And these are both your formal and informal skills that you've developed that align with the requirements of the role. So after you have finished watching the two videos, head over to component 4 interview strategy in this week's Moodle folder, and then it breaks down the four most commonly asked interview questions. And so for this week's critique, make sure you answer those 4 questions. that are listed on the overview page, and then come up with 2 thoughtful questions that you're going to ask the interviewer after it's over. So don't forget to put those 2 questions in that you're going to ask them. There is actually a folder, in the support folder, a page there called End of Interview Questions. And that'll give you some inspiration for coming up with some of those questions. But also, I want you to remember one thing too, is that whenever you ask a question, you need to explain why you're asking it. All right. The reason behind your question matters, almost as much as the question itself. So this is important as well. Please make sure that you provide your responses in written format. Do not submit via audio or video recordings. It just doesn't work with the critiquing process. Okay. And again, don't forget to check out the resources in this week's support folder. There's a few things that you can download and hang on to as reference tool for future interviews. Okay. One of the things that you actually might find interesting in there is a story building, a PDF with samples of the behavioral type questions like the BC government asks when they're doing interviews. And they are actually on the BC government website, but they're really hard to find. I had a few interview boot camp clients that I shared these with, and afterward they told me, was, well, Lynn, I am so glad that you showed me where they were and gave them to me, because they were exactly the questions that the panel asked. Okay, everyone. So that's about it for this week. Remember, they're at Wednesday at 9 a.m. available to answer any of your questions. So another big week, folks, but you've got this. All right. Okay. Have fun. Cheerio.